children, you are now joining with my YouTube channel Literature Mastery. I am Kusala Karunarathne and today I am going to start your syllabus. But before that, let's have a quick reminder about what we talked in last video. Can you remember what we talked in last video? We talked something important in literature. We talked literary techniques that make a big influence in literature. So I hope that you have got a clear understanding about what are literary techniques, where we use them and the examples of these literary techniques. Then children, now let's see what I am going to start first and discuss today from your syllabus. So when we see your syllabus, so you have got dramas, short stories, poems and novels to discuss. If you have got the anthology with you, so you can see and get a clear idea about this further. So when we refer the poems in your syllabus, so there are 20 poems, 4 short stories, 2 dramas, and you have to select a novel to write answers in your in the questions given. So I thought of to discuss first the poems in your syllabus. So these 20 poems are categorized into various themes as nature, conflict, society, life and humor. So I thought of to discuss the poems under the theme nature at first. So now let's see what are the poems that are under the theme nature. So there are 4 poems: To the Nile, A Bird Came Down the Walk, The Eagle and To the Evening Star. So what I am going to discuss first out of these, I am going to discuss the first poem in your anthology, To the Nile. Nile, so I know that you are very much familiar with this. The Nile is the longest river in the world. So, in here the poet addresses to the Nile. So, To the Nile poem is written by the poet John Keats. So, before we move to this poem, let's have a little discussion about this poet John Keats. So, John Keats is a romantic poet, and he's taken a prominent place in the second generation of these romantic poets. So when we talk about this romanticism, there are some characteristics that are seen in this romanticism. So in here, the poets give a prominent place for the imagination. Also, they celebrate individualism, and also they are using their strong senses, emotions and feelings in their writing. So they write about mostly the love and nature under this romanticism. So John Keats also used all these characteristics in his writing. So if we take some examples out of his poetry collection, so he has written Ode to Nightingale, To Autumn, The Beautiful Lady Without Mercy, When I Have Fears, and there are some many more other poems that written by John Keats. So when we talk about his birth, he was born in 1795 in London and died in 1821. So he had a short life period because he was suffering from tuberculosis, and at the age of 25, he reached the death. So that's a bit introduction about the poet John Keats. And now children, let's move to the poem To the Nile.
Okay children, so now let's move to the poem. So first let's read the poem. So here it is: the son of the all moon mountains, African, chief of the pyramid and crocodile. We call thee fruitful and that very vile. A desert fields are seen in what span, nurse of swot nations since the world began. Art thou so fruitful, or dost thou beguile such men to honor thee who won with toil? Rest for a space twixt Cairo and Deccan, or may dark fancies err. They surely do. 'Tis ignorance that makes a barren waste of all beyond itself. Thou dost believe green rushes like our rivers, and dost taste the pleasant sunrise. Green isles have thou too, and to the sea as happily dost haste. Okay, children, so that's the poem, and so this is a sonnet, and here we see the octave ancestor. So here in the first 8 lines, and we call it octave, and the final 6 lines we call it sextet. So now in this poem, these first so the octave describes about the olden times of this river, and then the final lines talks about the reality. Right, so now let's go through the poem. Son of the old moon mountains African. So now here, children, so these the poet has given a value to this river Nile. So here it is personified by calling sun. So son of the old moon mountains African. Now here the Nile River has originated from the mountains So it tells from the old moon mountains in Africa. So, and then chief of the pyramid and crocodile. So now you know this pyramid you can see in Egypt. So these are the tombs of kings and queens. So the Nile River has become a helper while building up these pyramids, and also crocodile. So there are it tells that there is a crocodile, number of crocodiles living, and the kind of crocodile species living in these river Niles, and it has become chief to this pyramid and crocodile. We call thee fruitful and that very vile. A desert fields are seen in what span. So now you know, children, so as I told you before, so this first part of this poem, so it is octave, and it is an appreciation of myth and legend. So now here we call thee fruitful and that very vile. A desert fields are seen in what span. So now the people are appreciating more and more this Nile River. So we call thee fruitful. Here, children, thee means you. So they are calling for the Nile. We call you fruitful. So that means it shows the fertility. And that very vile. A desert fields are seen in what span. So now those days the nature was very powerful, and so the people used to worship nature, so even the sun and the moon, so they started to worship. So and now in here, so when they were working in the desert, so the Nile River was a god for them. So it tells that Nile River was a god for them, and they call this river as a holy thing in these lines.
So children, we read the poem, so now you know what is the poem, and then we discussed the first 4 lines in the poem. So now there are more to discuss, so now let's move to the other part of the poem.
So the next lines, nurse of swot nations since the world began. So now here children, nurse of swot nations since the world began. So you know now these when we talk about these world began. So now these Nile River. So now this talks about the beginning of these human civilization. So now you have heard about these Mohenjo-daro, Harappa and Mississippi. So those civilizations began close to this Nile River. So now it tells about this beginning, the world began, and then nurse of swot nations. Now this Nile River has become a nurse to these swot nations. Who are these swot nations? So these are the black people. So the swot nations refer to these black people. So the Nile River has become a nurse for them. It's a kind of treating. So it has become a treater. So a nurse to these black people. Art thou so fruitful? Now here it asks the poet is asking the rhetorical question. Art thou so fruitful? So are you so fruitful? So are you really fruitful? So in these previous lines we talked about this. We call thee fruitful. So thee fruitful. So now you are fruitful. So you are a symbol. This Nile River is a symbol of this prosperity. So now the poet asks in this line, art thou so fruitful? So are you really fruitful? So do you really make the prosperity? Or dost thou beguile? Or dost thou beguile means do you deceive? Or you make something, or do you really make this fruitful, the lands? Or do you deceive? He is questioning. Such men to honor thee, who won with toil. Now here children, who won with toil means the working people. So such men to honor thee. Now people respect you, honor thee. So these people, these working people respect you. So are you really making the land fruitful? So are you really bringing the prosperity? So he is questioning. Rest for a space twixt Cairo and Deccan. Now here this twixt means between. So now this is the Cairo and Deccan are the 2 places where this river flows between. Oh, may dark fancies earth. Now here here dark fancies. So when we talk about these fancies, so now I told you in romanticism, so these writers are mostly going through their imagination. So even the John Keats went through his imaginations, and here it tells that like that. So are you really so do you make fancy? So are you a dream or fear? They surely do. 'Tis ignorance that makes a barren waste. So this is ignorance. So what do you mean by this is ignorance? So tis ignorance means that if you go in a wrong way. So if you go not if you go in a wrong way, that will make a barren waste. So that will if you suffer people. So if you are not doing the service really, or if you are not making it prosperity and fruitful, so people will suffer. So it will make a barren waste of all beyond itself, though thou dost believe. thou dost bid you means children, do you make wet? So you do make wet. Now thou here, you do make wet. So now he's telling that this river is making wet. What? Green rushes like our rivers and does stay. So now you are making wet this land. So now you can think also now it makes wet not only the land but also this heart of people. Make wet even the hearts of the people with the service that you are doing. Green rushes like our rivers and does taste. Now here green rushes, so green lands like our rivers. Now our rivers, the rivers means now the rivers in this poet's country. So he is telling, so like our rivers, do you also make the land green? So green rushes like our rivers and does taste. So and you make taste. So also the pleasant sunrise, green isles that hast thou too. So the pleasant sunrise. So do you help for the sunrise also? And green isles, so green islands hast thou too. So here now the poet is asked telling, so like our rivers, do you make the green, the islands, green the lands in your country? Do you just like in our country, our rivers do you also really make the lands green? Now here the green is repeated. In here also the green isles. So here the green islands. So that tells that, so are you really helping for this growing, so the planting? So it highlights this cultivation, right? And after that, and do this and to the sea as happily does taste. And then after doing all these, after making the land cultivated and making green lands, so now you are happily does taste. Does taste means moving quickly or hurriedly. So you are moving to see very happily. So because now you are happy, why? You made the lands green. So and to the sea as happily does haste. So you are flowing to the sea very happily after doing a great service, after making the land green, and after making people very happy, right? So now let's move to the techniques that we can find in these poems, so that can be seen in this poem. So now this one, so the poem, I told you the poem is a sonnet. So it has 14 lines and it has divided as octaves and sextet. So here the first 8 lines and then the 6 lines. So here I told in this poem, this octave discuss about these olden times of these river, the myths and beliefs, and then in the sextet it talks about this reality, the real service of the river. And then you can find the technique personification. So now in here the poem begins as son of the old mountain. So at the beginning itself you can see the personification, and from the words thee, thou. So thee means you. So the river is personified. Next, visual imagery. So now when you read this poem, so there's no doubt that you are creating mental pictures about what this about the Nile River, how it was helping, and green lands, and also it makes a picture in your mentality. And then metaphor. So here you can find some metaphors. Son of the all moon mountain, nurse of the swot nation. So those metaphors you can see in this poem. Rhetorical questions. The next technique is rhetorical questions. So now here the poet is asking a rhetorical question. Art thou so fruitful? So you can see this in this poem. And the simile. So the simile, so you can find a simile there. So there it was a simile, so you can see it. I'll show you the simile. Here you can see it in here. So green rushes like our river. So here green rushes like our river. So now here this is a simile, so that you can see, right? So then archaic language. So now the poet has used the archaic language, so that's why you can see the words like thou, just, has, thee are used in here.
So okay children, now we discussed the whole poem. So now I think you have got a clear understanding about the poem. So what is explained there and what are the things talk inside it. And also we discussed the techniques. So the techniques that you can find from this poem. So now we are moving to the last part of this video. So we have to talk the themes that we can take from this poem. So now let's see what are the themes that are in this poem.
Okay children, so now let's move to the themes. So we'll see what are the themes that can be seen in this poem. So first one, mystical aspects of nature. So now so in this poem, so there you saw that historical and religious beliefs of people. So they had these mystical aspects of nature. So I told you that they were worshipping the nature. So that they were appreciating and respecting this Nile, as they had these aspects of nature. So then traditional and conventional attitudes, so as well as they had these traditional and conventional attitudes to the nature and about attitudes on these to this Nile river. And then the contribution of Nile to the people. So this is the things that is explained throughout the poem, that the service done by this Nile river. So now you knew that. So we discussed that how this Nile river made these green lands. So how it helped for these cultivations, the groves and plantings for the people, and how it helped for these swot nations, and especially how to begin the civilization. So many of the services although this Nile river has done. So this poem tells about the contribution of Nile to the people.
So children, I think you got a clear understanding about the poem To the Nile, about the themes and the techniques in it. If you feel that what I am teaching through these videos are very important, please share these videos with your friends. And also, please remember to subscribe my channel. So, next day, I'm going to discuss another poem under the theme nature. So, let's meet again from a new video, and thanks for staying with me.